Hello, my name is Swiss Bianco. On the 12th July, we had our 6th anniversary of the US citizenship. So we did celebrate quite a bit this weekend. I made this video in English on the 13th because we had a people's vote this Sunday and the results are now clear. But first, back to the US citizenship anniversary. We celebrate that, of course, quite a lot here because we are free in USA. We are in USA legally and not only with a green card but as a US citizen. So that is a great achievement after all those years. It took me 12 years to get the US green card with the work and everything, and then good 8 years for the US citizenship. That's another test and some paperwork and a bit of money, of course, too, but that all went through really well, really easy. So if you have the chance to get your US citizenship, the test and all, I would highly suggest that you get that. So for me, that is one side of the story. The other side of the story is that with the US citizenship, you never have to leave USA anymore. That is really important for me. Not that for whatever reason the green card would have run out or whatever bad happened and then I have to leave the USA, quite likely for going back to Switzerland. Because I had such a horrible time in Switzerland, I for sure never gonna go back there, never wanna go back there. So the US citizenship gives me the security of stay legally in USA for the rest of my life, and that is absolute a great relief. So you can plan the next steps in your life. For me, that was that I did buy a little bit of property to finally have a place of my own to live in freedom there, in a simple lifestyle, easy and free, in complete freedom. That is really important for me because such a goal or a dream would never have happened in Switzerland. That was never even a remote possible, be it with the laws, with the money, with the work there. My work that I had was basically banned there, so I could not do my profession there, and that was back then one of many reasons to simply have the top goal in life and leave that bad place over there. So that is really important for me. Now I did wait to the 13th. Today is Sunday, because we had a people's vote in Switzerland and the results are out, and unfortunately, as pretty much expected, we have some bad news. The Corona law and the police law got voted on by the people's vote. Some people say, yeah, Switzerland is great because the people can vote on things, but the truth is that that can go really, really wrong in quite many regards. Plus, on the other side is the government and the bureaucratics, and since many decades, that was already in the 90s, back then that way, they don't care what the people vote. On the back door, on the back side, they do what they feel they want to do or what they got paid for, what they want to do. An example is that some politicians already work to push Switzerland again in the EU, and we had a people's vote many years ago, and I did vote back then too, and against the EU, of course. The EU is just a criminal group, organization that has no legal rights, that is not voted on by the people in that regards. And of course, back then the Swiss people did vote against it, but some politicians to the day still wanna push Switzerland into the EU. Like a week ago, a whole party did decide to push again for Switzerland to go in the EU, which is simply not correct, but it's a good example to show what the politicians do on the backside of the people, and we have to make that clear. The people own Switzerland, the politicians and the parties and the government, they work as an employee for the people. Even if they don't like it, it is that way. And it will never be the other way. So what the people want is what they have to do, and not on the back door do the opposite. That makes me really angry, and a lot of Swiss people too. But anyway, we come back to the Corona law that the people did vote for. Our days in such public votes, there is a lot of misinformation, a lot with the state or the government media, the Swiss media, that all hangs together in the same boat with the government for the most part. So they just tell you the great possibilities, but they don't tell you the truth about all the negative stuff. So the Corona law that they voted for is a part of the already strict terror that the Swiss government has on the Swiss people there because of the Chinese Corona pandemic. They have the lockdown, they have the mask requirement, they try to vaccinate as many people as possible and try to force them to. Of course, there is no mandatory vaccine yet, but they force you in many ways there in that regards, in that direction there, and that is simply not correct. So the Corona law that they voted for is another step in such a direction that you get a Corona passport, that you get registered, that you get more controlled. You know, it's gonna. They also have apps on their smartphones that they see where they did go and who did they meet and all that. And of course, all that surveillance, all that lockdown, all that state, that government oppression on the people is only to check on them, that they can't make videos like I do right now here, that they can't free speech. And all that is pretty much in a bad state there right now. So that's gonna be interesting to see how that's gonna go, in which direction that Corona law all gonna push. The second goes in a similar way. It's the police law. They made a new police law that they can even prior somebody did a crime, arrest them or put them under house arrest. Quite simple and easy. Every policeman on the street can simply then decide prior the fact the crime did happen, that they say, yeah, well, you look a bit suspicious, you are maybe not that well with the government, you are in opposition of it because the government wanted the complete control about you, and you don't want to have that. So the police has then in a fake law more legal rights, or at least they try to than before, to simply push you down and away. Now, they of course did lie about that police law as well. They said, yeah, that is only for the criminals, like we have as an example terrorists, we have Muslims terrorists there. They had some stabbings and other bad things happen in Switzerland, and that did really happen. I saw it in the free press as well. That is really happening. And they said, yeah, the police needs some more laws that they can actually go and prevent that. And of course, with that, With that saying, some stupid people that be able to vote, of course, they vote for that, but they did not get it that that is a double-sided sword, that can be used against them and will be used against them from that absolute bad government forced on the people themselves, on the Swiss people. So they did vote with yes for that. How did that situation be created in the first place? So Switzerland back way as I did grow up in the 70s, 80s, we had no terrorists, we had no crime. Of course, we had back then the Rote Armee fraction, the Fraktion from Germany, some leftist, communist terrorists from Germany. They came to Switzerland to buy some firearms legally or illegally. It's a long time ago, and that problem is basically gone and all that. So we never had much in that regards terrorists in Switzerland. But since about the 90s, maybe more towards the year 2000, and of course it got worse from then all the way to today without any end. We have X, what we would here in USA consider badder people that quite likely never would get a legal visa to enter the USA, that's simply gonna flood Europe all the way. That is it France, Spain, Italy, Germany, Austria, Sweden has a big problem with terrorists. Many places, and of course little Switzerland is in the middle of the shit there, so they had it of course too. So the government basically did create that problem by letting in such possibly dangerous people in quite a big number, and of course as they get let in, they come and they tell their friends and relatives come too, and zack, and at the end you have such people by the boatload into little Switzerland, and they of course sooner or later created problems, terrorist problems, and now the government did come and say, yeah, we need to change the police law, you know, for oppress those terrorists, you know. So it's a homemade problem. I mean, they did completely sure know what's gonna happen. If you do something, there is a reaction and a counter-reaction. So you can plan that out, you know. You see step 1, step 2, step 3, how that's gonna come. I mean, that was completely clear as all those people come, that we're gonna have a problem in Switzerland, and that's what happened. And then, of course, the police and the government and the bureaucratics there used that chance to oppress not only the problem, but also the own population. As a little side note, exactly the same did happen with the Swiss gun law too. I'm not talking about the EU law that is now forced on Swiss gun law. I did already discuss that in a separate video a while ago. I'm talking about the war in Yugoslavia and in Sri Lanka there by India. We had such people coming to Switzerland, and the government let them in, and of course they did mess up. They did buy or steal or trade. They basically did everything they could to either get firearms in Switzerland, or the illegal money to then buy firearms on the international market. And what the Swiss government did, they just changed the gun law to the worse, not only for those foreign people where the Swiss people basically has nothing to do with it. I mean, what we have to do with Yugoslavia, with the civil war there, or with Sri Lanka, with another civil war, you know. We are Swiss, we are neutral, we are a tiny country, you know. What does that matter to us? But yes, the Swiss government did misuse that chance, and of course made the gun law really strict back then for Swiss citizens as well. just because the government, the criminals of the government, of course, know that a well-armed population of citizens is the opposite of what they really want. They just want people that are servants, that are pushed down, that don't have free speech. And in that direction it did go for many, many years, many decades by now, and that is the main reason why I did leave that little place there, because I saw that on foreseeable future there is no way that the people like me can live in freedom there at all. So, not that that video gets too long, I want to close that with a bit of a positive note. The CO2 tax law got pushed away by the people's vote today. So that's going to be an example for 99% of how the government do that anyways through the back door. Basically they said the same lie like in Germany with the CO2 laws there, that if you pay more taxes you can save the environment, you can save the earth, and of course the climate, you know. So that you pay even more taxes from your little slave money that you get there, that you earn, to save the whole world. Meanwhile in China and other places they blow up the environment like there is no tomorrow, but little Switzerland and Germany with the CO2 tax gonna save the planet, of course, with that. It's all a scam, it's all a lie, and we're gonna see in the future, but I say they're gonna put a hidden CO2 tax on it, on gasoline and other stuff, oil and other such stuffs anyway, so that they do it just on the back door, that we see that all in a couple months. So I'm not sure yet if I'm gonna make a video about that, but that's just something to watch out for. So the general situation in Europe is really bad. The corona craziness is still in full swing. A lot of lockdowns, a lot of vaccinations be done there, the mask requirement, the whole pipapo, something that we never had here, like in Georgia where I live. We never had a lockdown in that regard, never had a mask requirement, because it's simply illegal. Everybody needs to decide themselves if they want to do that or not. So you see, it's a bit mixed. On one side we did celebrate, on the other side of course there is bad news again too. But on the third side it proves over and over again that it was absolutely the correct decision to leave and to come legally to USA.